morning, Prof. Good morning, viewers.
Good morning,
How
Didi.
are we doing this
Morning, everyone.
How are you
Good.
today, Prof? How are you doing? How was your week?
I'm
Actually, I
good.
was meant to call you during the week, but I didn't. Yes. So, how was your week?
What you're reporting yourself?
I know. Yes.
On
Before
national TV, SonRise TV.
I know. That's
well,
fine.
I'm guilty of the same thing, but it's all good. I mean, no. Thanks for thinking. Check up on me anyway. It was a good week. Kind of settling into the new year. No longer so new,
Yes.
but things are kind of lining up. I think for people who are making plans, those plans are starting to take shape. Some implementation, some execution has even already started. So, yeah, so far so good. How about you?
Yeah, it was good. It was, as you said, things are beginning to kind of settle down a little bit, So last week was very not as busy as the first 2 weeks of the month. And I guess now it's more of the issue around the homeschooling, and it's not that easy, having to combine that with work and every other thing. But yeah, we're fine. We're good. I had a good week, and we're all in good health. So thank you. Viewers, see, Prof just wanted to know how I am and how my week was. But tell us, how was your week? Hope you all had a good week. Did you do anything interesting in this month or in the past week? Is there anything that you did that you want to share with us? Please share it in the comment section and we'll pick it up. All right,
yeah,
Prof.
Actually, on that note, you mentioned something came to mind as you said that. When in about a year ago, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, when the whole situation came to kind of a head in terms of lockdowns and so forth, many organizations were forced into lockdown and kind of emergency measures to get people to work remotely.
Yeah.
But now we've come to the beginning of a new year. I talked about planning earlier on.
Yeah.
And I think for many organizations, this is an opportunity to actually put a marker in the sand and say, this remote working thing, we're going to now look forward and make it a long-term thing. So it'd be interesting to find out whether people are having that experience because, they come back and companies are now talking to their people and saying, this is what to expect going forward. Has anybody actually had their company say to them, you know what, in this year, we want to kind of formalize and institutionalize, if you like, that remote working. And so you can actually plan your life around it.
That is quite interesting because in my workplace, that has been said already. So that was shared with all the employees towards the end of last year. And so, majority of the people would normally naturally work from home maybe once a week, but now there is the appetite to let people work from home at least twice a week or 3 times a week. So you can either work from home 3 times a week and come to the office twice a week, or you do 2 days at home and then you do 3 days in the office. But what they didn't confirm is that they wouldn't want anyone working from home full time, because there is still this thing about, as much as we love working from home, people still need that place to go out for a bit of a fresh air and also share things with their colleagues. There are some things that you want to do and they're best done if you were like meeting face to face as opposed to doing it virtually. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm sure a lot of businesses now are, if they're not, then I would like to be speaking to their risk team to find out what exactly is it that they're doing, because this should be part of their planning. It is risk management.
Put your contact details out so they can reach out to you.
Well, yes, I'm sure people know how to get me.
Your LinkedIn.
People know how to get me. So yeah, you said LinkedIn.
Yes.
You said LinkedIn because I was going to go on to social media. Remember last week?
Yes.
We didn't actually kind of like finish off our conversation on social media and how we use it. I know last week we discussed about whether the decision to ban people or ban Trump. Wow, no longer the president. Wow, ex-president. Yeah,
indeed.
Ban Trump was appropriate or was proportionate. And I think we kind of both agreed on that, what else could they have done? But what I want us to explore today, this morning, is, was it actually, or is that an appropriate thing to do? Even, other people who are on social media right now.
Yes. I think that point actually goes beyond even the question of social media. Why do I say so? Because when you were just talking now earlier on, you said that the people at work said that it's that people need to do X, Y, Z. Yep. That some people need to go into the office. And the question that came to mind was, who is in a better position to know what the worker needs? Is it the kind of the leadership in the office or the person that does the work? So it brings this whole idea of an external body trying to regulate personal conduct. Okay. Yeah. And I think it's a similar question, right? So how much of your personal life would you like your place of work to regulate? How much of your freedom of speech would you be willing to give up so that somebody somewhere can decide that this is what's appropriate for the society and what's not? You see what, so all of these things kind of come down to personal freedoms, right? True. The question is, are those freedoms, do those freedoms exist or do they not? If they do exist, are there boundaries to those freedoms? And what are those boundaries? And who decides what those boundaries are? Yeah. So I think this appropriateness really deals with all of these issues. So number one, who decides? Number two, what are those boundaries? And number three, what are those actions that should be taken? Yes, around those boundaries. And number four, what then is left for the person who's experienced that kind of activity or that kind of action to do, right? And relating to this, again, this relates to something that happened quite a bit in the last couple of years. I'm sure everybody is familiar with the so-called woke culture, right? And in some other quarters, somebody will say woke culture equal to culture of victimization. Right? That's
right.
So I'm the victim here, qualified to comment on it unless you're also a victim, that kind of thing. Depends on what side of course, I'm just saying what's there. That what I just said now is not necessarily a reflection of my own position, just to say.
Of course, well, it's better to put out the disclaimer there.
It needs to be clear before somebody says, oh, no, I haven't. When it's my position, I'll let you know. and we saw this thing happening a lot in places. I'm sure you've heard of this cancel culture.
Yes.
Right? And cancel culture was reflected a lot in places like universities, in fact, in any place where there was an organized platform for people to air their views. And what you saw happening was somebody would be invited by a group of people to speak, to air their views pertaining a particular issue on a given platform. And then somewhere along the line, it is discovered that that person has a view that is not in alignment with that group's. It might be on the same issue they're coming to talk about or a completely different issue. And you know what happens? Suddenly there is some activism or somebody comes up and says, no, we can't give this person a platform. Let's cancel their appearance. And we saw that in the last couple of years. Of course, in 2020, we didn't see much of it because nobody was going anywhere.
Nobody was going anywhere.
In the preceding year, so we saw that cancel culture where people that had a platform actually prevented other people from airing their views on those platforms when those views did not necessarily align with theirs. And even as far as that, you had this argument, and people were starting to say, look, what this is doing is that it's damaging, number one, freedom of expression. Number two, it's denying people the ability to actually have a reasonable discussion with people who have different views, different points of view, right? And so when people don't have the ability to disagree and be disagreeable, suddenly what you're left with is the kind of thing we're seeing now, where people on social media, somebody says something they don't agree with. No longer do you have, oh, I don't agree with you. Can you explain why you think what you think? You see people going straight to insults, see people going straight to terrible things, right? And then all of that just speeds off each other, and then you get to certain threads. And then you see some of the things going on there, just terrible things being said and terrible things being communicated. And then coming to the question you asked, we then see those things being said, which are, kind of feeding off each other in this echo chamber. There is no counter perspective because any counter perspective is drowned, strangled, completely set on fire and exploded with nuclear bombs and things like that. Figuratively speaking, of course. And so you have this echo chamber. There is no temperance. There is no balance at all. And then you then have those people ending up doing what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, ending up, in essence, as some people would describe it, fomenting and trying to carry out a coup. And then, so you end up where we are now, a ban. Somebody says, you know what, the only thing we can do right now is to cancel them.
To just put an end to you, basically.
Silence them. And so this is my position now, having said all of that. I think it's not the ideal situation for us as a people, just as human beings, to be where the best way we know how to counter an opposing ideology is to shut it down. It tells you that something has gone wrong somewhere. It's gone wrong very badly. Why do I say that? As far back as, you know, the Greeks and you know, Aristotle and a lot of all of these older, even go further back, Confucius, a lot of these other people, one of the things that were seen as the mark of a civilized society was the ability to hold debates. Right? A debate is to have people and they have a debate, they disagree, and at the end of it, somebody says, of course, the audience, somebody in the audience can get convinced, and somebody wins it based on superior argument, and the other doesn't. We see that carrying forward. We see in the Gospels, right? A number of people, we saw people, a number of times we saw people come to Jesus and saying things to him and asking questions. Right? I don't think there was any point at which Jesus said, you know what, I'm going to silence you. You know, I don't want you to ask any questions. You know, sometimes he told people off, but he did answer their questions, and often he used their questions to teach other people.
Sorry to jump in there. Do you know, I actually think that what this is about is, it reminded me of that message Pastor Timmy preached a while ago on freedom, you know, working in freedom, maybe a couple of months ago or so. And, do you know, it was talking about what is wisdom, freedom. So let's assume that we all believe that we work in freedom, but we're actually not in freedom in quote, right? So you say to people, you have the freedom of speech. However, I would only allow that if it aligns with what I believe. Then that means your freedom is defined by those things that are my beliefs, not necessarily the full expression of freedom of speech.
Your freedom is constrained by my ability to take offense.
Exactly. Do you understand? And for me, it's like you ate what you like or what you don't like. I can't remember how they say it. It's like we want to eat our cake, have our cake and eat it at the same time. There has to be. So if you're saying people are going to be free to use the social media platform to express themselves and whatnot and all, which is why for any platform you go on, you have to sign in as that individual. So you have your personal account. So anything you post on that page, it is your responsibility. So if anyone comes on, I mean, I'm sure I currently have a post on my page on one of my social media platforms that I posted something, and I've seen some back and forth going on what I posted. I just ignored it. I mean, for me, it's like, to start with, I am too busy to start going back and forth on social media with anyone. I don't care who it is. Did you understand? But not everyone would have the same sort of self-control, because it's a lot of self-control, because a lot of times you feel like, oh, you want to go out there and defend yourself and all of that stuff. No, it is your personal place. So if they're saying, is it, for me, back to my question earlier, was that appropriate? I don't think so. But then again, as I said last week, we are talking about a very powerful individual, that there are so many people, thousands of people following him, doesn't even need to read anything else, just listen to what he says and they run with it. They can take his word to the bank. You just need to have some sort of control in place.
So it sounds like you're saying, was it appropriate? No, but what else could you do in response to that?
Well, Prof, please, they're not paying me to sort out their issues, right? So I'm not, honestly, like, I'm not going to worry my head for that. Do you know, the whole essence of us having this conversation is for people, our viewers who are watching, and even for us as well, to be more aware of how we're using social media, and also see, because these things they're real. People are reading stuff on social media that kills them, that drives them to suicide, and people don't care. Do you know? So, but then how can we control it, or how can anyone control it? I'm a risk manager, and I struggle to map out the best way to control it, because you have individuals come online, say whatever they want to say. How do you know what I'm going to say next now? Do you know the word that will come out of my mouth now? You don't.
Yeah.
Do you know? So you just need to have some sort of controls and safeguards in place. That's all.
You know, I know that there are a lot of people, like you said, who are paid to think through these things, and hopefully they're doing their jobs. But, you know, there are some other money. But, you know, there are other implications that I want us to explore just in a few minutes. Now, we're talking of freedom of speech. We're talking of people's quickness, people's quickness, people's proclivity to take offense. Now, if the offense of another person becomes the benchmark by which speech, free speech is impinged on or is constrained, then potentially, baby, we could have a problem in the future.
Oh yeah.
Right? Why do I say that? Because there are positions in society, right? There are behavioral trends and attitudes and so forth that many years ago were not accepted in society. Okay. And then in the recent past, some of these have now become more and more accepted and in fact been enshrined in law. Now the church, however, in the main anyway, has not shifted its position as far as those things are concerned. And so what you've ended up happening is that you now have a tension where somebody says, I would like to preach the gospel, right? But when I preach the gospel, in fact, put it this way, the very, very basic message of the gospel is there is sin. And in order to be free from sin, you need salvation. You can't preach salvation without sin. The problem is that if we have a situation where free speech is constrained because somebody takes offense, well, you can imagine tomorrow where if you did say to somebody you need salvation, the person says, why do I need salvation? Because you are sinful. I'm offended because you say I'm sinful, and therefore the gospel message itself could be construed. Of course, it would be a construction. There'll be a lot of bending over backward to do it, because the gospel message itself is good news. Good news can never be, you should not take offense at good news, but it's possible. So you could face a situation where the gospel message begins to be seen as offensive. And then if this whole, and that's why I was giving the whole example of cancel culture, and then people not being able to disagree disagreeably, and now ending up where people are starting to shut up people down. So that means that potentially you could find the church and people who speak the gospel, and not just the gospel, but any view that is not kind of in general by some people agreed as being acceptable will be shut down. So the question will be, what does that mean, for the church? When I say these things, I'm not saying it because, well,
develop an app for the church and then see if you can host it on your own platform. Can you create your platform? I don't know how it works.
You can do that, but isn't that the same as saying, you know what, I'm going to, build a fortress or build a city for myself and my family, and everybody else out there can burn. Right. Wow. So I think that, if we are saying that the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our God and of His Christ, then we have a responsibility to bring heaven down to earth. And I think that responsibility, sometimes it means doing what you said, but sometimes it actually means bringing the solution. And I think that ultimately it's at the place of policy making. This sort of thing would never happen if we have voices that are speaking the perspective of the church and the perspective of the gospel and so forth in the places where laws are being made.
Policies are being made.
There are some laws that were passed, and the time they were passed, I don't know that there was much representation and position, lobbying, if you like, by representatives of the church. And then when it was being done, we were now asked to start to pray. Right? I mean, you laugh, but you see what I'm saying. So
it is. I laugh, but the truth is, it is actually the reality. It is sad, but we're where we are today.
Well, it shouldn't be the reality anymore, right? Somebody that is watching this should, think about it. Even if you're not going to become a politician, when these things come up, stop for consultation, go out and make your views heard. Hold your MPs, hold their feet to the fire in the sense of making sure that your views are represented to them. Sometimes what happens is that some people have a particular view, they say, we're not going to say anything. And because you don't say anything is the minority view.
No, for me, I always say that if you have a view on something and you choose not to say anything, then you don't have any sort of right to make any comment on that thing if it goes wrong. because you had your chance to hear your view. Whether it will be accepted or not doesn't matter. But just say it. If it doesn't go well, fine. But if you decide to keep quiet, then you might as well just, when they say suffering and smiling, and be suffering in silence, whatever it is. Yes.
I think this is what happened in 2016, where a lot of people said, "Oh, during the Brexit, they vote, right? Well, you can't complain. You didn't vote, so
no, exactly, yeah.
Keep it zipped up, and it is what it is, right? If you didn't want it to end up the way it did, then you should have done something. And I think that's a lesson for us all, as far as everything is concerned. But anyway, I think our time has just run out.
It's like, we could go on time is just going so quick. Guys, please tell us, do you want this show for an hour? Because I'm sure myself and Prof are happy to stay for the next hour.
That's a good point, actually,
if you want this show to go on for an hour, please just send us messages, let us know, because this is all for you guys as well as it is for us as well. Because I don't like the fact that as we're just getting into the meat of the, you're eating something, you're just getting into the very
you have to stop.
Nice, and then you have to stop all of a sudden. Anyway, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back very shortly for our Spotlight Minutes. Thank you. Hi, sis. Good morning.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy New Year. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, baby. Minister Zuby, I'm very well. Good to see you both.
Good. So good to see you.
Sister Tomori.
Happy.
Higher New Year. Higher 2021.
Higher New Year, yes.
Higher. Go higher.
Yes. So good to see you, sis. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Our viewers, please make our Sister Tomori welcome to the show. Thank you. It's our first time. So and you know how this goes. You have joined us for our Spotlight Minutes. And now we have a record that is yet to be broken. The record is 5 questions have been answered under 30 seconds. How many did you answer today? That's what we're looking for. So you're going to, yes, fingers crossed, right? I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you because I like it. So it's 5 questions right now. You just need to get over 5 questions. And I'm sure our lovely bro, Bola Albert, wherever he is right now, will be praying to God that you won't get it. But
is he currently the record holder?
He is, yes. So as we do, Prof will read the questions out. If you're not sure of any question, as opposed to trying to get the answer or whatnot, just say pass, and we'll read another one. Because for every second you delay on a question, your time is going, right? And the timer will be on the screen. I will also shout out when the time is up, because I understand when you're under pressure, you can easily forget every other thing that is happening around you. So, Prof, are you ready?
Ready to go.
You are? Sis, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So, the time starts now.
What is your absolute favorite song that you never get sick of?
Brandy Norwood's Aphrodisiac.
What is one thing you can't live without?
Rice.
What is your favorite way to start the day?
Prayers to God.
What is your most impressive skill?
Cooking.
What's the most exciting thing in your life right now?
My family. Minister Zuby. You.
Oh my God. I cannot believe that. I was actually really hoping that you would get over 5 questions. Like, I was like, that was 4 questions. Because
4.
Just on the question, the 5th question.
I just asked the question.
Yes.
I think the trick here is to, if you can answer the question straight away. But anyway,
well, yes,
I think you did really well. You did really well.
Thank you.
Really well.
In fact, I think we might have to revisit that number 5, because I think we may have got that count wrong. Somehow, I just don't think that was more than a better performance than this. So we may have to invite Mr. Albert back so that we can get this.
So we can see.
Validate his number.
Are you sure he hadn't seen the questions before? He's prepared and he hasn't scribbled up.
I think we might have had a glitch in the matrix, but this was very good.
We are Christians.
It was in sync.
Yes. Exactly what you see is what you get with us.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
But well done.
Fair and square. Thank you so much.
So good.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great Sunday, and we'll see you in service.
You too. Take care.
Bye. Oh wow, that was so good. I felt so bad.
Really
I really
well.
wanted that to be well. No offense to follow, but I really wanted Tomori to get.
No, I think like I said, let's get Fola back here, because I'm questioning that number now, because this is a good performance. So anyway.
Well, I'm sure it will come prepared, more prepared than you did the first time. So yeah.
But you know what this means, though. If we were to even invalidate that one, it would be Minister Godswill.
True, right? True. Yes, because he had 4.5 or something.
Yeah, because he started answering. So, but anyway.
Yes. Wow.
Yes.
That was so good. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that also. And as we always say, if you'd like to be part of this show, please do reach out to us. And of course, yes, let's all come together and do this together. We're having fun and we want you to be part of it. Prof, please take us into service.
Yes, it's time for the service. It's that time again where we go and we hear the word hot off the press, or if you like, hot off the voice of God. And you know, this month we've been talking about the new year, the word for the year, higher 2021. Pastor Temi has been talking about the vision, or about prophecies, revelations or resolutions and goals. And again, this Sunday, he will be taking us towards the end of that. What is coming up, I can't tell you, but what I can tell you is it's going to be great, and we'll come out on the other side being even better equipped to make 2021 higher and higher. Don't go anywhere. Amen. Come with us. Let's get to the service. See you there.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.